Hey everyone, Shadox here. Today I just wanted to go over the Volibear deck that I brought to the Aegis Esports Riftbound tournament. I ended up making top 8 and lost in top 8 to a Darius deck. But yeah, today I thought I'd just kind of go through the list, the card choices, how it felt, things like that. So I wanted to play Volibear because he seemed pretty fun. I played a trial deck for him when I went to Gen Con, and I kind of enjoyed the playstyle. It's pretty much just you ramp up. You get your extra runes from his legend ability and other cards like Mobilize, and then you just end up playing big guys over and over again. And you also have things like Dazzling Aurora to help cheat them out. So when I was building this list, I actually based it off of this one that I saw on Piltover Archive, Bear's top #1 Europe's tournament list. I saw this while I was looking, had a lot of views, and I played a couple of games with it, not too many, but I really liked all the choices. And still being new to the game, I didn't feel too comfortable trying to change things that seemed to have worked well. So this was the list here. I'll go through the cards in just a second, but I also wanted to note that there wasn't a side deck for this, so I had to make that myself. But yeah, going back to the list. So to start off, we've got the 5 Fury, 7 Body runes, and for battlefields, we've got Aspirant's Climb, Sigil of Storm, and Obelisk of Power. So you have Climb and you have Sigil, because they both are good to slow down decks who are trying to go too fast for you before you can get out any big characters, or you need time to get out Aurora, fill up the board and battlefields. So that's what they're good for. And an Obelisk is just good to give you the extra ramp, right? Like, it lets you, it just lets you get to your game plan faster, pretty much. And then going into the main deck, for our champion, we only have this Volibear, the 10 cost one. This one has Deflect 2, and it's got the when I attack, deal 5 damage split among any number of units here. So I really like this Volibear actually a lot more than the other one, I think. Because there's a few times where you have this card here, Confront, as well. You're at 12 runes, and you just go Confront plus Volibear, and you can instantly swing in and deal a 5, and come in with 9 might as well. Plus the Deflect 2 is like, it's a bit of a problem for a lot of decks to deal with, right? Setting them back some turns to try and remove this Volibear, it kind of hurts. And then playing 3 copies of him, so 1 in your champ slot and a 2 in main deck, letting you flip it off Dazzling Aurora is also like a really solid hit too. I think in terms of like Aurora hits, this volley or the other one are both pretty good. I just kind of like this one more because of the when I attack ability. It helps clear out the battlefields that they're trying to stack things on, or if they have, I guess, one big unit. This is essentially coming in for, what is that, 14, right? So it's pretty solid there. The other one, I think it's 10 and has shield 3, which is helpful if you're trying to hold more, but I feel like this deck already has like a ton of holding power. You also play some other things like Stormbringer, which we'll talk about later, that can kind of combo with this, but Stormbringer will usually do enough to, to clear the battlefield already. Next we have Confront, which I just talked about briefly. So it's an action, cost 2. Units you play this turn enter ready and draw 1. This is really good for when your hand is kind of full of the bigger units, rather than trying to flip them off Dazzling Aurora. It's also good just to cycle, right? Sometimes you just go pay 2, draw a card, just kind of see what else you get. But like I said, this combo with Volley is good. This combo with any of your, any of your units that are stuck in your hand. Like MF, for example, you could kind of do something there with her. Like you play Confront, you play MF, and then you move stuff, and then she moves in, and then she readies things. So you can do some neat little things there. Mobilize is just some ramp. 2 of them. Sometimes you just want to try and get the early start. I know some decks play Catalyst as well, which is also a pretty good ramp card. I could see it being in here. I think the reason it's not in here because they needed to make some room for some removal spells to slow the game down a bit. Also, I think maybe there's a lot of green in the meta currently, so you don't want it getting defied, because that kind of hurts too. But there's 2 in here for Mobilize. And then moving on, we've got, so I'm going to talk about these 3 actually. So we got 2 challenge, or sorry, 3 challenge. We've got 3 Void Seeker and then 3 disintegrate. So like I just said earlier, these 3 are great for slowing the game down. Like I said, you're trying to go big and you're not very fast at doing it, so you need a way to, you know, not lose the game in the meantime. So especially Void Seeker and Disintegrate, they're great because, you know, you can hit their small units like tokens with Disintegrate. You can hit their Poros or their captains, or what else we have, manufacturers, like things like that. It's great. You can hit things like any of their like 3 might units or less, and you get to draw a card as well, which is pretty good. It doesn't cost any power to recycle, so that's a pretty good upside. Void Seeker does 4, which actually deals with, you know, quite a bit of things. It does cost 1 power to use it, so that's not too bad. And then challenge is good all throughout the game, I think, not just to stall the early game. Like, it helps there too, but like even later game, having your volley challenge to something, or Dreadbloom or Cadrigan, usually they'll win out, unless you're playing against another big boy deck. So the challenge is pretty good there. It's a cheap removal option there. But yeah, the Disintegrate and Void Seekers really help slow the game down a lot, and it's helped quite a bit in the matches that I've played. Next, I guess we'll talk about the big guys first, then I'll get to like the spells. First we have Blazing Scorcher here. It's a 5 for 5. It's got Accelerate. The notable thing about this is that it doesn't have any runes to recycle for it, which is really neat. So it doesn't throw you off curve sometimes. So you can play down Blazing Scorcher with Volley's legend ability. You can ramp up a rune, and then you've got like a 5-cost guy that you gained a rune for to channel one. So it's pretty neat, and the Accelerate also comes in handy sometimes. It's just a one of. I could see some more going in, but then that would mean you have to cut something else. You could probably make room for another, but I think you'd rather play more that has effects. So like moving on, we've got Snapvine, which is pretty good. Snapvine coming just from hand or even from Aurora or anything. When you play Snapvine, you can choose an enemy unit at a battlefield, and then they deal damage to each other. So usually you're gonna want to, you know, trade into something that won't kill you back, but if you have to trade into another 6 might, then they, you know, kill each other. Or sometimes you have to damage a unit on a battlefield to remove it later with like a Disintegrate or Void Seeker, or like finish it off somehow, right? So sometimes you got to do that. It does cost 2 runes to recycle, but usually it's worth it. The cool thing about like these big units and playing them with their rune costs is with Volibear's ability, when you play a mighty unit, you get a rune back. So it's essentially coming in for 2, or sorry, just 1, 5 plus 1, right? Because you get 1 back, which is neat. And moving on to MF. MF is actually really good. So MF isn't the greatest to hit off Aurora, but when she gets to survive a turn and ready up to move, or if you have her in hand and you want to play her and accelerate her or something, she has ganking, which is really good. And she also has her ability, the first time she moves each turn, you may ready something else that exerted. So if you have another unit that's exerted, say she's ready and you want to play something big this turn, we'll say Cadrigan here. You can play Cadrigan, you can move Misfortune, and then you can ready Cadrigan, so Cadrigan can move into a battlefield or somewhere. The other thing is you can ready something else that's exhausted. So you can also actually ready your Volibear as well, your leader. So that way you'll get another rune. Say you've played another mighty unit, you've gotten a rune for Volibear's ability, and then you have Dazzling Aurora that's going to trigger at the end of turn. So you can move Misfortune, ready to Volibear up, and Dazzling will trigger to channel you another rune. So that's something you can do. It's pretty cool. Neat little bit trick there. We also have 3 Brynhir Thundersong. Is that how you say it? Brynhir Thundersong. Yeah. We've got 3 of those main decked. When you play this, opponents can't play cards this turn. They can still react to the trigger of it, but after that, they can't play it anymore, which is pretty strong. Also notably, it's a 6 cost with no recycle cost, and it's a mighty unit, so that's also pretty good. Sometimes you just play this on curve just to you know, ramp one up, channel one more rune, and just to have something on board, right? So, not bad, right? Especially against green decks that, sorry, green decks that have buffs, so they'll have to pre-commit those buffs, and you'll know, you know, what you're getting into. Or if you're playing against blue decks that, you know, have all the removal, or like Kaisa, for example, with all the removal, you can kind of play this first, and then they have to do it then and there. Otherwise, the trigger goes off, and they can't play cards anymore for the turn. Then next we have Dreadbloom Predator. This one is... this one's really good coming out from Aurora, sometimes. Because there are times when they're on a game-winning point, and your only outs are Dreadblooms, and then you're hoping to hit them from Aurora, and they just kind of go to a battlefield. Being an 8 might as well is like really huge, plus the deflect cost is really annoying. Dreadbloom from hand as well, pretty useful. You can just, I mean, you don't usually want to pay the 8 and the 2 power right away for it, but if you have to, you have to. The ability to play it to an occupied enemy battlefield is really nice. I actually think I might want to go up to 3, maybe swap these two. Go up to 3 Dreadbloom and then 2 Kadrigan. Although Kadrigan, moving on to Kadrigan, is a 9 cost, costs 2 power to recycle, and it's a 9. And when you play me, draw 1 for each of your mighty units. So that includes himself. So you can actually draw a ton of cards with Kadrigan, because there's times when you've been building up your board, you've been holding battlefields, and then this comes off Aurora or something. So once that happens, you just kind of refill your hand if it was empty, or make it even bigger if there was a ton. There are times when I've drawn more cards than I needed to, and sometimes I was looking for a Dreadbloom to kind of save out the game, so that's why I kind of think I might swap the ratios on these from 3 here to 2 there. But Kadrigan's pretty solid. And then I guess we'll talk about Dazzling Aurora. At the end of your turn, reveal cards from the top of your main deck until you reveal a unit, and then you may play it ignoring its cost and recycle the rest of the cards that were flipped. So this card costs 9 and 2 runes to recycle, which is not cheap at all. But it has a very powerful effect, so that's why you've probably heard me mentioning, oh, Aurora this, Aurora that. That's pretty much the biggest main game plan of this deck, is to get out Aurora, and then every turn you just get a free big guy. And then in the meantime, you can play big ones from hand, you can play your spells, knowing you're going to get a unit at the end of your turn. It lets you hold up some runes, in case you have like Voidseeker's Disintegrate, or Challenge. It lets you do things, knowing you'll have a unit always at the end of turn, which is really nice, especially when you know your decks are like jam-packed full of big ones. Obviously, the slight downside is you don't know which one it's going to be. Like, you could be wanting a Dreadbloom, but you're going to get a Thundersong, which is going to do nothing because it's end of turn, right? So something like that could happen. And I guess the other thing is Aurora is weak to gear removal, obviously. But usually people don't main deck any of that, so it's something you have to plan for in the sideboard. And then finally, the last 2 spells that I haven't talked about was Stormbringer, which has won me so many games. So you choose a friendly unit in your base and you deal damage equal to its might to all enemy units at a battlefield, then you move that unit there. So I had people like stacking one base thinking, oh, you know, you won't be able to beat everything with just one Volibear or something. Like, there was a Volibear mirror match that I had where they were stacking up one base. They had the 12 cost Volibear, they had like Dreadbloom there, they had Snapvine, they had like, what else? They had a Scorcher, they had a lot there. And then I was setting it up so I had the Volibear in base, and then I waited a turn, and then I had Stormbringer in hand, and luckily they didn't have anything to deal with it. I'm not sure, I guess they could have had like a challenge or something, which might have been able to deal with it, but getting a good Stormbringer off is just so punishing, right? It can't be defied either. It has to be like wind-walled or countered somehow. But yeah, it's actually such an insane card. It's like definitely deserving of a signature spell. And like, you don't even have to do it on like Volibear as like the strongest. I was using as an example, like even doing it to something like Scorcher, which is like the weakest thing you've got in here, or even like a middle of the pack Snapvine. dealing 5 or 6 to everything at a battlefield will usually clear out everything, or at least get it weak enough to where it'll finish it off in the battle afterwards, the combat afterwards. And finally, we have Sky Splitter. Costs 8 and 1 rune to recycle. It's an action, but then the 8 is reduced by the highest might unit you have on the battlefield. No, among units I control. So it doesn't even have to be at a battlefield. So if I have a Snapvine on my base, this will only cost 2 and 1 rune. If I have a Dreadbloom or a Cadrigan or a Volibear, this is free, except for the 1 rune that you recycle. And deals 5 to a unit at battlefield, which is nothing to laugh at, right? 5 is a lot, right? 5 kills Darius, it can kill Kaisa, it can kill Misfortune, Kiana, it kills quite a bit, right? So being able to like have that reaction for pretty much free just to recycle is like really, really good. So overall, yeah, I did like the feel of the deck list as it was. And like I said, I wasn't too comfortable making any changes on something that worked already. So now after playing it in an event, I think number 1 change I would do was probably swap the Dreadbloom and Cadrigan numbers. And the other one, I don't know, I might try out Catalyst, but I kind of like the rest of it. But yeah, that's all I can think of right now for the change, for any upgrades or changes. And then moving on to the side deck. So for the side deck, I have 2 Sabotage, 2 Get Excited, 2 Cannon Barrage, and 2 Anivia. I have 2 Sabotage for things like Master Yi or any other combat trick green decks. I guess the only other one is Lee Sin. I guess it would be okay there too. The blue decks like Victor or Kaisa to help hit their removal. Honestly, this always goes in really because you also want to try and hit their anti-gear removal, which is usually in the form of a non-action. If I recall, the only like unit gear removal is the green Adaptatron, which is okay. There's like other ways to play around it, right? Like you can like Sky Splitter it or Void Seeker it or Disintegrate it, challenge it, Get Excited if you side that in as well. Like there's ways around it, so it's not too bad. And there's times when you've already gotten your value from Aurora, you can let one of them die and then play another one, something like that. But yeah, that's what Sabotage I think is the main thing. I think I might want to go to 3 and then maybe 1 Anivia, but I don't know, they've all felt okay. Next is Get Excited. This one I put in because, I mean, I guess I just learned that this card is not a cost. So once you've played this card and it resolves, then you discard and deal the energy cost to a unit at a battlefield. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I was told that's how it works. So like, I'll play Get Excited, I'll pick that unit, and then I wait for any responses because they don't know if I'm going to deal like 5 to it or if I'm going to deal 10 to it. It could be anything, right? So I can wait to see how much they buff it if they want to, and then know how to pitch accordingly. But I mostly put this in for, I want to say I put it in for Master Yi, who would usually have 1 big guy, and Darius is pretty annoying as well because they can also play, they play like Draven, right, which gets really huge sometimes. And for the mirror, Volibear decks or MF Aurora, so any Aurora mirrors as well, I think is solid there too. And it did work out in the 1 Volibear mirror I played. I was able to snipe the other Volibear, the 12 cost Volibear, by discarding my 10 cost Volibear, and it ended up pretty nicely there. And then next we got 2 Cannon Barrage. I thought this would be good against Victor. It was okay, but then when they had the turns that they played Grand Stratagem, is that the one that buffs them all? It didn't really do much there because it only works on enemy units in combat. So what they do is like they pre-buff it, right, and then send it in. So then it makes things a lot harder for me to deal with. It worked out once or twice in the Victor match I played, but it still wasn't enough because, like I said, the other times they just kind of pre-buffed the recruits and then just went in. But it overall felt fine. It was also neat against none of the others, actually, now that I think about it. I guess Darius has seemed okay as well. I don't know if it did much for me there, but I could see it being put in there for Darius as well. And finally, I have Anivia, 2 of them in here. Anivia being a big unit as well that can come out from Aurora, or I can just ramp up to. She has her when I attack ability, deal 3 to all enemy units here, which is also pretty solid. Kind of the same idea as Cannon Barrage. I would use it to kind of clear out, you know, the decks that want to stack bases with like a lot of units, like Darius or Victor. I would think it's solid there. It can also be used with Stormbringer as like a pretty neat removal. I mean, Stormbringer would be dealing 8, which should remove everything as well. But yeah, you can also do something like attack with Anivia, clear a board, and then Misfortune ready it, and then move it again somehow. If you had like a ganking battlefield, Windswept Hillock, is that the one? So I mean, there's little things you could do with it, but yeah, my idea for it was, you know, tackling those decks that have a lot of tokens, or, you know, little units that want to stack onto multiple bases. Aggro, I guess, would be pretty good too. That's also where probably Cannon Barrage would be good too. I didn't play against any Annie or Jinx, but I could see it being good there. But yeah, seemed pretty solid. So as for the tournament run, I ended up 3-1. Round 1, I played against Leona, which I won 2-0. No. Let me see, I have it here. I did win 2-0. And then I played against Victor, which I lost 2-1. That's the one where the Cannon Barrage worked out in game 2, but then game 3, I guess they adapted and they figured out what to do. And it didn't really feel too good there. But still, it was a good game. And then I played against the Volibear mirror match, which was pretty tough. The Get Exciteds actually helped me close out the game in game 3. That one was a 2-1 for me. It helped me close out the game in game 3, and Stormbringer in game 1 did so much work. So that was really nice there. It was a really, really good game. And then finally, round 4 was against Master Yi. And once you get your big units going, I find Master Yi just has a problem. I don't think they can beat any holds that you do, right? Like, it's very hard for them. They'll need like White Flame or a stun. I guess Rune Prison would be pretty good. Any stuns that they have, but I feel like it's a bit uphill if they don't get going fast enough. And then finally in top 8, I played against Darius, and Darius just kind of baited hooked me both games. It was 2-0 for them. They baited hooked me, no. Game 1, they baited hooked me on curve, and then just did like the whole swarm thing. And then game 2, they didn't baited hook me right away, but they were still too fast for me. I dragged that one out pretty long though. Like, I got, I think, double Aurora, or just one Aurora? I think it was one Aurora, and I found another later, which it was too late already. I was already losing at that point, but yeah, that's the problem with the Volibear ramp deck, is like, it wants to take its time to win, and it can't really beat things that go too fast or too big too fast. Yeah, like Victor, for example, has Call the Weak, which is a really annoying card because we want to play like one guy at a time, whereas Call the Weak is like, oh well, let's just get rid of that one guy every turn, which kind of sucks. But yeah, either way, it was fun. Hope there's more in the future from Aegis. Big thanks to them for having that. And yeah, I'll probably bring this again sometime. I want to go back to working on Lee Sin. Lee Sin was like the first deck I tried building, and it was pretty fun. It actually seems like pretty decent, so I'm gonna take a look more into that. And there's the China event right now happening. They're having their, I think it's a regionals or something. So that's something to look forward to see some deck lists from. Currently, what time is it? Top Cut is happening right now, so I'm gonna go back to watching that. And yeah, have a good one.